The dawn of writing, a monumental leap in human cognitive and social evolution, was not a sudden celestial event, but a slow, deliberate bloom. In the bustling urban centers of ancient Mesopotamia, where the echoes of commerce and administration had begun to demand a more sophisticated system of record-keeping, a revolutionary technology was taking shape. Cuneiform. This was not a system born of ink and parchment, but of earth and reed, a testament to the ingenuity that arose from the very ground beneath their feet. The invention of cuneiform marks a profound turning point, the moment when human thought began to transcend the limitations of spoken language, allowing for the preservation and transmission of knowledge across generations and vast distances. It was the very genesis of recorded history, the bedrock upon which future civilizations would build their understanding of the past and their aspirations for the future. At its heart, cuneiform was a system of impressions made by a stylus, typically a sharpened reed, pressed into soft, malleable clay. The tactile experience of this process is central to understanding its essence. Imagine a scribe, perhaps a young apprentice diligently practicing his craft, or a seasoned administrator meticulously detailing temple inventories, sitting at a low table. Before him lies a freshly prepared tablet of moist clay, its surface smoothed to a receptive sheen. In his hand he holds a stylus, a carefully trimmed reed stalk, its end sharpened to a wedge-like point. With practiced, deliberate movements, he presses this stylus into the yielding clay. The angle and pressure of the stylus create a distinct impression, a series of wedge-shaped marks that, when arranged in specific combinations, form a legible script. This was a method born of necessity and practicality, utilizing the most abundant and accessible materials available in the Mesopotamian river valleys, clay and reeds. The visual character of cuneiform is one of its most striking features. The name itself, derived from the Latin cunus, meaning wedge, accurately describes the fundamental element of the script. Each mark is a small, distinct wedge, varying in thickness and direction. These wedges are not random. They are organized into specific patterns that represent sounds, syllables, or entire words. Over time, as the script evolved, these pictographic origins, early attempts to depict objects visually, gradually abstracted into more stylized and symbolic forms. The initial images of a head, a bull, or a sheaf of barley became progressively simplified, their outlines reduced to combinations of these characteristic wedges. This process of abstraction was not merely an aesthetic choice. It was driven by efficiency. The wedge shape was easier and quicker to impress into clay than drawing complex pictograms, especially when speed and accuracy were paramount. The process of creating a cuneiform tablet was one of meticulous craftsmanship and focused attention. The clay itself had to be carefully prepared, free from stones and other impurities, and kneaded to the perfect consistency, moist enough to be easily molded and impressed, but not so wet that the impressions would blur or deform. The stylus, too, was an instrument of precision. Scribes would fashion their own style, often from reeds that grew abundantly along the rivers, trimming and shaping them to achieve the desired tip. Different angles of the stylus produced different impressions, allowing for a range of marks, from fine lines to broader strokes, all within the fundamental wedge form. The scribe would then begin to incise the marks onto the tablet, often from top to bottom, in columns that read from right to left. though early forms sometimes presented different orientations. The visual progression of cuneiform is a fascinating study in linguistic and artistic evolution. In its earliest stages, proto-cuneiform, the script was largely logographic, with symbols representing entire words or concepts. For instance, a drawing of a bull's head might represent the word bull. However, as the need for greater nuance and phonetic representation grew, the system evolved to incorporate syllabic signs. This meant that a single symbol could represent a combination of consonants and vowels, allowing for a more flexible and expressive representation of spoken language. The transition from purely pictographic to a more abstract syllabic system was a monumental achievement, enabling the script to represent not just concrete objects, but also abstract ideas, grammatical nuances, and the full spectrum of human speech. The visual elegance of cuneiform lies in its apparent simplicity and its underlying complexity. While a casual observer might see a series of repetitive wedge shapes, a closer examination reveals a sophisticated system of symbols and their precise arrangement. The arrangement of wedges could convey subtle differences in meaning. A single wedge, for example, might indicate a singular item, while a cluster of wedges could denote a plural. The precise orientation and number of wedges within a particular sign were crucial for its correct interpretation. This attention to detail was not merely academic, it was fundamental to the accurate transmission of information. A misplaced wedge, a slightly altered angle, could potentially alter the meaning of a word, a sentence, or even an entire legal decree. The impact of cuneiform on the ancient world was nothing short of revolutionary. Before its invention, knowledge was largely confined to the spoken word, ephemeral and susceptible to distortion with each retelling. Oral traditions, while rich and vital, were limited in their capacity for precise detail and their ability to endure across vast spans of time. Cuneiform provided a means to anchor knowledge, to give it permanence. Suddenly, laws could be codified and disseminated with certainty. Economic transactions could be recorded with indisputable accuracy, fostering trust and enabling complex trade networks to flourish. Religious beliefs, myths, and epic tales could be preserved in their entirety, becoming enduring legacies rather than fluid narratives. The sphere of influence for cuneiform was immense. While its origins lie in Sumer, the script was adopted and adapted by numerous cultures across the ancient Near East. The Akkadians, Babylonians, Assyrians, Hittites, and Elamites, among others, all embraced cuneiform, modifying it to suit their own languages. This widespread adoption is a testament to its power and its adaptability. Each civilization imprinted its own linguistic and cultural nuances onto the script, creating distinct variations. The Akkadian cuneiform, for example, incorporated more phonetic elements than its Sumerian precursor, reflecting the structure of the Akkadian language. The Babylonians and Assyrians, heirs to the Sumerian and Akkadian traditions, further refined the script, using it to record their own monumental histories, astronomical observations, and sophisticated legal codes. The materials used in the creation of cuneiform tablets were fundamental to their survival. The very clay that enabled the impressions also proved to be remarkably durable when baked. While many clay tablets were inadvertently fired in ancient fires, preserving them for millennia, others were intentionally baked by scribes to ensure their longevity. This process transformed the soft clay into a hard, ceramic-like material, resistant to the ravages of time and the elements. This intentional baking, alongside the natural preservation of tablets buried in the earth, is the reason why we possess such an extensive corpus of cuneiform texts today, offering an unparalleled window into the ancient world. The role of the scribe in ancient Mesopotamian society cannot be overstated. These were not mere copyists. They were educated professionals, masters of a complex and demanding script. Their training was arduous, often beginning at a young age in specialized scribal schools. They would spend years memorizing thousands of signs, practicing their formation, and learning the intricacies of grammar and literature. Scribes held positions of considerable prestige and influence. They were essential to the functioning of temples, palaces, and the burgeoning administrative apparatus of the city-states. They drafted contracts, recorded royal decrees, composed hymns and epics, and meticulously documented the flow of goods and resources. Their work was the engine that powered the complex machinery of ancient Mesopotamian civilization. The sheer volume of cuneiform texts that have survived is astonishing. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of tablets have been unearthed from archaeological sites across Mesopotamia and its neighboring regions. These texts cover an incredible range of subjects, offering insights into every facet of ancient life. We have legal documents, such as the famous Code of Hammurabi, which laid down a comprehensive set of laws and punishments. We have economic records detailing everything from grain distributions and livestock counts to long-distance trade agreements. We have religious texts, including myths, incantations, and prayers, which reveal the deeply ingrained spirituality of these societies. We have literary works, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the earliest known pieces of epic poetry, which explores themes of friendship, mortality, and the human quest for meaning. Beyond these grand narratives, cuneiform texts also provide intimate glimpses into the daily lives of ordinary people. We find letters exchanged between family members, business correspondence, school exercises, medical texts, astronomical observations, and even early forms of literature such as proverbs and fables. These more mundane documents are invaluable as they reveal the practical applications of writing in everyday affairs and offer a counterpoint to the grand pronouncements of kings and priests. They show us that writing was not just the preserve of the elite, but a tool that permeated many levels of society, facilitating communication and commerce. The decipherment of cuneiform in the 19th century was a monumental scholarly achievement, akin to unlocking a lost language and a forgotten world. Scholars like Henry Rawlinson, working with multilingual inscriptions such as the Behistun inscription, painstakingly pieced together the meaning of the wedge-shaped signs. This process was a testament to human perseverance and intellectual rigor, requiring the comparison of texts in known languages like Old Persian and Elamite with the enigmatic Akkadian cuneiform. The successful decipherment opened a floodgate of information, transforming our understanding of ancient history, religion, and culture. It allowed us to hear the voices of peoples who had been silent for millennia, to understand their thoughts, their beliefs, and their struggles. The impact of cuneiform on the development of subsequent writing systems, while not direct in every case, is undeniable in its broader significance. It demonstrated the profound potential of a formalized system of symbols to record and transmit information. The very concept of abstracting spoken language into visual signs and the creation of a codified system for their use laid a conceptual groundwork for all future developments in writing, while alphabetic scripts, which emerged much later in Phoenicia, represent a radical simplification and a different approach to representing sound. The cuneiform script was the pioneering step that proved such a system was not only possible, but transformative. It established the fundamental principle that human communication could be rendered tangible and enduring. The enduring legacy of cuneiform lies not only in the vast library of texts it has bequeathed to us, but also in the very idea it represents: the power of recorded knowledge. It was the first time in human history that complex ideas, laws, histories, and stories could be preserved and transmitted with a degree of fidelity previously unimaginable. This ability to build upon the knowledge of the past, to access the thoughts and experiences of those who came before, is the very foundation of human progress. Cuneiform, with its wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay, was the midwife to this profound transformation, the genesis of written civilization, and the enduring testament to humanity's innate drive to communicate, remember, and understand. The clay tablets, silent witnesses from a distant past, continue to speak volumes, their impressions a tangible link to the dawn of recorded history. The very existence of cuneiform, with its complex system of wedge-shaped signs impressed upon clay, necessitated a specialized class of individuals who could master and perpetuate its use. These were the scribes, and their role was far more than that of simple record-keepers. They were the intellectual backbone of Mesopotamian society, the custodians of knowledge, and the conduits through which the past informed the present and shaped the future.